Hey, come here. You like pro wrestling? We got a little something for you. 2 fans, 3,000 miles away. We each been watching for more than 30 years. Celebrate the art form, the action, the homoeroticism. We ain't rating matches. We ain't analyzing stories. We ain't experts. We just sit down, shut up, and mark out! What's up, everybody? It is Blade Daily, and I am with Joshi G, and we are coming at you with another edition of Sit Down, Shut Up, and Mark Out. And we are both in very good moods right now because we had amazing weeks for somewhat different and somewhat the same reasons. Joshi G, how the hell are you?
I'm doing really good. I was at Forbidden Door. Dynamite was amazing last night. Had a lot of adrenaline after that. So I'm really pumped. AEW's got me really excited. How are you doing?
I am doing great for the exact same reasons, except I wasn't at Forbidden Door. But we are going to be talking about your Forbidden Door experiences. Unbelievable week for AEW. I don't think I've ever seen them come out of a pay-per-view as strong as they did last night. Last night, for those of you listening, we are taping this on Thursday, the day after Dynamite. So if you're listening at some other time, don't be too confused. I think, you know, our listeners are very smart people. I think they can figure it out. But yes, the creative is on fire in AEW right now. The performers are on fire. It is unfucking believable how connected I feel to the product right now. It makes me so happy. I watched Dynamite twice last night.
Whoa.
Goddamn.
So basically what I've concluded is I have a Threads view where I watch it live and I'm kind of on Threads constantly talking with people. And that's a very distracted way to try and watch a wrestling show. So then, you know, and you and I are private messaging through that first watch. The live watch. And then so later that night I go and I'll watch it again by myself, just without any distractions. I find that that's a very satisfying way. But honestly, Dynamite holds up to a second viewing, and it really has the last several months. Incredible stuff. And we'll get to all of that. But we're going to actually start the show with something a little different. Joshi G, I got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
I am a notorious sporkler, okay? I go on the website Sporkle, and I look up wrestling quizzes, and I take them a lot, okay? And it took me quite some time to figure this out. I want to know if you can figure out who wrestled the most WCW Monday Nitro matches of all time.
Wow, that's hard.
It is hard because you pretty much got to figure out it's somebody who was there the whole time.
Yeah.
Who wrestled a lot on TV.
Okay, let's try a couple of guesses.
Okay.
Sting, probably not.
Sting is 4th.
Dope.
Yeah.
I had my Homer Simpson moment. Okay.
No.
Ric Flair, probably not, right?
Way down, actually.
Okay.
So Sting had 125 matches on Nitro. Flair had 92.
92?
Well, you got to figure Flair had like that really long absence from
That's true.
Nitro with
That
the
is
lawsuit
true.
with Bischoff.
True. Okay. That's why I just threw that out there, but I had a really strong feeling it wasn't him. So definitely not Flair. Oh man, this is hard. Wouldn't be Lex Luger, obviously.
Lex Luger is number 2.
Number 2, huh?
Lex Luger is number 2. 150 matches for Lex Luger. So quite a bit more than Sting, who had 125. Third place is Chris Benoit with 132. So that kind of gives you, so think along the Benoit lines. They had a very particular series of matches, a best of series. Before this person became the five-time
Booker T.
It was Booker T. has
I
the
should
most.
have known that. Oh my God.
It's okay. It's okay. I caught you completely off guard. I have a trivia fact for you.
Tell me.
You don't have to guess. Tied with Ric Flair. Tied with Eddie Guerrero. For 92 matches on Monday Nitro. And maybe a possible explanation for why WCW went out of business. Disco Inferno.
Boo. Boo. Can't stand that guy. Ugh.
Fuck.
I didn't mind it when he was a job guy. But when he started like winning titles and stuff, like he was a TV champion.
He was.
Fucking A. So Joshi.
Yes.
You were there.
I was there.
You and the pup were in Central Park. You and Sandong chilling. Central Park.
He absolutely loved Central Park. It's so huge. There were so many dogs. And he was in a very playful mood. We went to their dog park. So they have two right next to each other. One is for smaller dogs and the other one is for medium-sized and large dogs. So we brought him to the medium and large-sized dog park because Sandong is a medium breed. And he just had such a good time. And I really liked everything that they had there. Like they had water fountains. They had a little pool with a hose so you could fill it up with water if your dog, wanted to get wet. They had a lot of trees, which was nice. It was really humid that day. So luckily lots of shade. He went nuts there. And because we had Forbidden Door at night, we wanted to exhaust him as much as possible because we knew we were going to be gone for like at least 6 hours. That was such a long show. So mission accomplished. We left him at around like 5:45 and we only got back at like 1 a.m.
Wow.
So when we came home, he was out of it, took him for a quick walk. And very successful because I was worried. I was like, oh no, we're staying at this Airbnb. What if he gets a little bit frustrated that we're not back yet and he destroys something? But that wasn't the case at all.
That's good.
Bring him, So taking him with us to Central Park for like over 4 hours really did the trick.
You were there for 4 hours?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really
we were
cool.
Like, you are going to enjoy Central Park, boy. And he did.
Yeah. You made it worth taking him. Damn.
Yeah.
So then there's the other part. You were at fucking Forbidden Door, dog. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah. So luckily the UBS Arena was very close to our Airbnb, like 8-minute drive.
Whoa, that's cool. Yeah,
it was so close. Only thing is, you New Yorkers, man, you charge a lot for fucking park. We were charged $54
Holy shit.
for parking at the UBS Arena. Like, what the hell? And the arena is quite new, so it was really nice. One thing that was really interesting about it was that they did not take any kind of cash. It was all card. So, yeah.
As a Canadian, did that present any challenges?
I mean, not really, but I had gotten so much American money for nothing. I brought that along and hardly used it because New York is really trying to go cashless, it seems.
Yeah.
But as for the show itself, it was supposed to start at 6:30, started a little bit closer to 6:45. My section anyway, we were very surprised that they started 0 hour with Serpentico and Kyle Fletcher because that had not been announced prior to the show. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like the fans started coming in slowly. And I would say for me, it was an extraordinary night. Mm-hmm. It was really surreal to see 4 wrestling promotions collaborate together. I got to see wrestlers from Stardom, from CMLL. I mean, I've already seen wrestlers from AEW and New Japan. I was at Forbidden Door last year, but still, the fact that all 4 of these companies were working together and we got to see the Lucha Brothers with Mystico, wrestling, NJPW guys, LIJ, that was just amazing. I wasn't sure if I'd ever be able to see something like that. And So to be able to witness that live, absolutely incredible. Seeing Tam Nakano and Momo there. Oh man, it was just so freaking cool. It's like I've wanted the Stardom talent to be a part of Forbidden Door since the very first one. And finally, they were there. And to include Siamalala as well, it was just the icing on the cake. And I can tell you this, the crowd was so invested in Willow. They absolutely love her. There was a point in the match where I believe it was either Chris and Tam Nakano or Tam Nakano and Momo. And the crowd was chanting, let's go Willow. And I was just kind of like, well, Willow's not in the match right now.
She's not currently wrestling. Yeah.
You should be cheering for Tam, but because they weren't familiar with her, it took a little bit of time, but they did really warm up to Tam. And
it speaks to how over Willow is at the same time.
She's so over. My husband there, he was actually very surprised that she was so over. And I'm like, really? I'm like, come on, we've been watching AEW the past couple of months. The crowd has been so into her. And he's like, yeah, but I didn't expect her to be this over. But it is true. Right. And I do feel that her match with Mercedes made her even bigger. But yeah, so like a lot of people in my section were wowing Tam and Momo. So yeah, I can tell you that they were really, really into Willow and for sure the Lucha Brothers and Mystico. On their pre-show anyway. Those were the wrestlers that were the most over.
Yeah, I think this was hands down the absolute best pre-show AEW's ever done. It was unbelievable. I mean, you have Kyle Fletcher absolutely murdering Serpentico. I posted that, Snake Man is ready to die, and then posted an update after that very short match that he has expired. He was a dead man. The crowd seemed very into the Stardom, tag match with Willow and Chris. They were super into the Lucha Bros with Mystico versus LIJ. I was super into that match. One match that on pay-per-view anyway, it seemed that they might have been kind of quiet for that I was a little surprised by was Mariah versus Saraya.
They were.
Yeah, it was just weird.
They did boo Saraya, but yeah, I guess they weren't as into that match. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, no, and then that Lucha Bros, I got to say, Ray Phoenix taking that time off was the greatest thing he could have done because this guy looks absolutely incredible right now. The vibes with Penta and Phoenix with Mystico was off the charts, but seeing them versus LIJ, man, the chemistry between all these guys was incredible. Teton and Ray Phoenix going at it was chef's kiss. Good God. Good God. The Lucha Bros and Mystico win. When I saw the card announced, to me, it was like Teton's taking that pin, and he sure did. But he looked good before he took it. Holy shit.
What the fuck is up, yo?
So I think a lot of our listeners have probably heard a lot of Forbidden Door reviews. So I was thinking, let's just talk the highlights because there were a lot of those. There's still a lot of those to cover. And that will feed into us talking about Dynamite, which, holy God, what a show. What a show. MJF wrestles Hechicero in kind of this very business-like match to me. There seemed like there was something in the water a little bit with MJF because he was very like, hey guys, bye guys, very almost Jericho-esque in his just like, he was like, hey, I'm going to pop the crowd and leave. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's not MJF's style. All right. Comes out, has a 10-minute match with Hechicero. It was a good match. Cool. I really enjoyed the Elite versus Tanahashi and the Scissor Ace. Versus the Scissor Ace Tanahashi and the Acclaimed. I actually thought it was a very, very fun match. In ring, it wasn't something I was like dying to see or anything. But, these guys are all just way too skilled to not make this very entertaining. And the moment where Nick Jackson puts on the headphones and Okada is scratching in the air. Fucking popped me hard. That was hilarious. Max Caster's pre-show or pre-match rap said bitch about 1 million times to kind of illustrate how heavily Okada's relying on the bitch line. Very fun match. Tanahashi was air guitaring to the Acclaimed rap when there is no guitar in that. And then Matt Jackson, in an act of utter disrespect of the highest order, smashed the air guitar into pieces. Son of a bitch.
Oh, shit.
Son of a bitch. But Okada gets the pin on Tanahashi after a pretty vicious Rainmaker. What was it like in the building for this one?
Look, I get Okada's a heel. I do. But the fans love the guy. He got one of the loudest pops of the night. When he was doing his whole like scratching and stuff, the whole DJing thing, I mean, the fans were laughing so hard. People love Okada.
How can you not? How can you not love this guy?
Exactly. And it's just that he's so funny. He's so entertaining. He's showing us his more goofy side, which I actually appreciate. It's nice to see that he has all these different layers to him. So the crowd was really into that match. They really liked the Acclaim's rap. They were into Tanahashi as well. Of course, there was a mixed reaction when it came to the Bucks.
Yes.
But still, I feel like mixed is better than an entire freaking building booing you, you know?
Well, they're heels as well. I mean, they are the primary antagonists of the entire company. So, I mean, I think it's fine if they get booed to fucking oblivion. You know, at this point, generate that heat, brother.
Oh, for sure. I would just like to get rid of the ahem chants whenever they're out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I think they kind of did that to themselves. I got to be honest. You know, I love the Bucks. I love Jack Perry. I love the whole thing. They used him to get Jack Perry over in this way that he couldn't have gotten over otherwise. And they explained his gimmick, basically, why he's a scapegoat, you know, with that footage. And unfortunately, it also bonded them with this person that is no longer on the programming. But I think they welcome the chance. I don't think they care.
Yeah.
Like, I personally could stand never to hear his name again, quite honestly. But other than that, fantastic match. The crowd seemed very invested.
They were.
Okada is beloved by everyone. He's universally beloved. He's a Japanese wrestling legend, the most successful since Antonio Inoki, in my humble opinion. And he is also, you know, now in the United States, showing people a totally different side of himself. That if you're a sicko like us and you've seen the pictures of him being a total goofball behind the scenes for years. But this Okada is not something that mainstream audiences have ever seen. But even when I saw him in Everett, Washington, the crowd was chanting Okada, Okada. They weren't chanting for Dax Harwood. They were chanting for Okada. Amazing. Then you got to see fucking banger. Bryan Danielson versus Shingo Takagi, the American Dragon versus the Rampage Dragon.
The fires of war shall blaze hot.
Living up to the hype. It was a great match, especially for where it was on the card. I still think these guys they left a little bit on the table if they ever want to do another match. But goddamn, it was a really, really, really good match.
The fans are really into that match. Very pro Bryan Danielson crowd. But
yes,
they did appreciate Shingo. And I agree with you. It was very, very good. One of my favorite matches of the night. More like great, actually.
Oh, it was fantastic. I loved the match. I loved it.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I feel like we need more. I would like to see a rematch down the line.
I would love to see them wrestle in Japan. I would love to see them wrestle in front of that audience. I thought it was pretty cute that Shingo does that thing where he's like, hi,
yes.
hi. But the crowd wouldn't go along with him. So then he just like, he's like, Bafangul, fuck you.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, he's so adorable. Oh, Shingo.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Shingo rules. And I think Shingo is one of the guys that I always thought this guy could get over in America massively. Now that I've seen Okada, I had no idea Okada could do what Okada does. He is the greatest Japanese import of all time, probably already. But he might have a little competition from... So Shingo submits. But damn, they made you understand why he submitted. Because Danielson had he was going to rip his fucking shoulder out of... his arm out of his shoulder. I mean, like, Jesus Christ. That was vicious. Great fucking match. American Dragon versus Rampage Dragon. It happened on American soil. We got to see that. Fucking thank you to Sicko Supreme Tony Khan. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
But, you know, Okada may be the best Japanese import, but he's got some competition. Because in our next match, you have Tony Storm, timeless Tony Storm, versus somebody who very well could end up becoming the greatest of all time Japanese import, and that would be Mina Shirakawa. Incredible setup for this match. The feud with Mariah. There's so many things I love about this story. They are telling it as this completely ridiculous, campy, over the top, bisexual love triangle. It's crazy. It's the crazy shit that makes pro wrestling so good. Okay. So you have Mariah. So on the pre-show during Mariah's match, Tony actually came out with her hair like up in almost like curlers and in a tracksuit. And then, you know, Mariah wins over Saraya. So then Mariah comes out and announces the entrances for Mina Shirakawa and Tony Storm, who comes out dressed as the Statue of Liberty. All right. With Luther. And the irony of it all is that neither Tony Storm, neither Mina Shirakawa, neither Luther, neither anyone involved in this match is American.
That's what's so funny about it.
And Tony's dressed up as the Statue of Liberty. It's the greatest. It's the greatest. It's the absolute fucking greatest. Mariah is dressed in this pink dress, and she, what to do? She does that the whole match, okay? She just looks disturbed and scared for both competitors the entire match. Mina, just charisma like crazy. It was trending on Twitter earlier in the day. I don't even like to mention that site, but it was mentioned to me that on X, We Want Mina was trending. She has gotten over with the American audience in a way that very few ever do. Even Americans. Very few Americans even do. This woman has captured the hearts of the American viewing audience. She is absolutely incredible. Her charisma is off the charts. It's unbelievable. They have a fucking great back and forth match. Mariah looks terribly troubled. Tony really is getting her ass kicked for a good portion of this match. Tony ends up giving the hip attack, which I consider the ass buster, to the stairs on the outside, which looks very painful. And basically, Mina has her. I mean, right where she wants her. She hits her with her finisher. Tony manages somehow to kick out, kind of by the skin of her teeth, hits her with the Storm Driver, or the Storm Zero, I'm sorry, and wins. Pins Mina clean after the match. Do you want to talk about it, Joshi?
Yeah, sure. So after the match, Mariah is trying to get Mina and Tony to reconcile and all that, and they're very reluctant. Mina especially, she's making faces. And at some point, Tony and Mina hug, and Mina is hugging her. First they shake hands, very reluctantly. And then they end up hugging, but Mina's extremely uncomfortable.
And what you didn't see on the paper, you may not have seen in the arena, is that Mariah's the one trying to get them to hug. Right?
Yes, she's trying to get them.
What about a hug?
Yeah.
And Mina looks like there's some forcing her to hug Tony, like there's some invisible person pushing her into Tony almost, and her facials are incredible.
Yes, she was really funny. And then Mariah decided that they should all three share a kiss. And they do. I just laughed at it. You know, my husband too. I thought it was silly. I know Nigel liked it very much.
Nigel McGuinness was an unhinged lunatic this entire night, but his greatest moment of the entire night was in this very moment. You hear Nigel crying through the headset. And I think it was Taz who's like, Nigel, you okay? And then the camera flips to Nigel as they're kissing. And Nigel is manly crying and clapping because he thinks it's the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. And he's acting like a family was just reunited or something, you know?
He's so silly. I mean, I can tell you that the fans were into Toni Storm for sure, but they were also into Mina. Like she got a really good crowd reaction. There were We Want Mina chants. So I applaud Mina for getting over in the United States, and I look forward to seeing her in AEW again. I'm sure we will. I thought it was a really good match. I told you the other day, for me, seeing it live, Mina did look like the better wrestler. But when I did watch it on TV, Toni did look good. It's just that Mina did a lot more moves that stood out, that looked really brutal. But still, like Toni still did look good. So all in all, it was a very good match. I thought the whole kiss thing was funny. But I will say this, moving forward in terms of the whole, sexual innuendo and all that stuff, I would tone it down just a little bit. Just moving forward. Just a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Just a bit. But maybe it's just me.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. This is an edgy storyline, and they are testing the limits of what wrestling can be right here.
Yeah.
And there is this very omnipresent kind of bisexual vibe to this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Where and I only say bisexual because Tony's married to Juice, right?
Right.
But
right.
There is this very intense kind of throuple vibe to this whole thing. And all three of these women are very secure and empowered. This I saw somebody refer to this as diva-esque, or something reminiscent of the Divas era, and I just have to wholeheartedly disagree with that. These are empowered women who are very comfortable with their bodies, who are very comfortable with their sexuality, and they are choosing to use it as part of a story. I do think you'll see it die down a little bit because I think there's a switch that's about to get flipped in this whole thing. It's obviously, this was kind of the culmination of the happy times.
Right.
And I think we're getting pretty close to some pretty intense dark times.
Oh, for sure. I'm okay. Yeah. I'm okay with it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I didn't have a problem with it. It's been entertaining. It's been funny. It's just that and no offense to you, I Blade Daily, but I just know the way some men can react to this kind of stuff and kind of treat them as only sex objects and not more. And I just don't want that to happen. That's all. I guess as a woman, I'm very protective of other females. And I've been enjoying it, but I don't want the expectation from some guys moving forward to be like, oh, well, they have to make out or else I don't care. That's what I worry about a little bit, Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a reasonable concern. And I mean, look, you're not going to get any argument from me about dudes. Okay. Dudes, a lot of us are trash. If you're not, don't take it personally. I don't, but a lot of dudes are. And that's just the unfortunate truth. And there is a lot of people who are going to, if they do too much of this, and that's kind of what I liked is one time Toni and Mariah had kissed, one time Mina and Mariah had kissed, and then this time they all kissed each other, but it's not like they're doing it every week, and it's not like they're doing it constantly, and I think that going forward, there's going to be some implication, but probably it won't be as overt as this, because there's a lot of reason to believe that this story is going to take a radical turn fairly soon. And we'll get to that later in the show. Another highlight match I thought was Zack Sabre Jr. versus Orange Cassidy. This was
oh my God,
a fucking incredible match. A technical wrestling masterclass from ZSJ. Just this man can do anything he wants. And with human limbs, he hates human fingers. He's always trying to break them. But good God, Orange Cassidy looked great in this match. Something that really stunned me was listening to Zach talk out of character during the scrum. And one, talking about how AEW is an American company that has succeeded at getting people to really appreciate the highest quality in-ring action on a different level to make matches like this possible for him. Because I don't think he had any desire to ever go to WWE. I know he wrestled like in their Cruiserweight Classic, I think, years ago. And so did Kota Ibushi, but neither one of them was ever serious about going there on any kind of full-time basis. You were never going to see Zack Sabre Jr. in NXT UK. But, you know, he talked about how, one, anybody who thinks that Orange Cassidy is not a good wrestler is an idiot and doesn't know what they're talking about. Orange Cassidy is just a mold breaker. He is a brilliant wrestler. He has a brilliant character. He knows how to integrate his character with his wrestling in a way that almost no one else ever has. He is a genius. I honestly believe Orange Cassidy is a genius and an incredible worker. And he showed it here in this match. What do you think, Joshi? How did the crowd feel about it?
I'm totally with you. The crowd loved that match. I loved it. I thought it was terrific. I think that Zack Sabre Jr. is the best technical wrestler in the world right now. And for Orange Cassidy to be able to stand toe-to-toe with Zack Sabre Jr. in that ring in a technical match was very, very impressive. And I'm with you. I'm tired of the Orange Cassidy criticism, okay? Like, the guy is over. The fans love him. He is not just a goofy character. And I don't know how much more it's going to take to get it through people. Like, just watch him. He knows how to freaking wrestle. And he was very serious in this match. He wasn't like the typical Orange with, you know, the light kicks and putting his hands in his pockets every second. He didn't do any of that, okay? Like, sure, you know what? When AEW first started, he did lean on that a lot more. But come on, guys. It's like we're 5 years in now.
Look at the evolution of this character.
He is not just a comedy character.
Not at all.
Yeah. He was able to match Zack Sabre Jr. in the ring. And that says hold for hold. And that says a lot about him.
You know, I think the other thing with Orange Cassidy and the Bucks, honestly, they get a similar kind of hate. Generations of people have grown up with WWE, right? So like Hulk Hogan in his day was heavily criticized by Dave Meltzer, by a lot of people in the traditional mindset. But then a whole generation that grew up with Hulk Hogan started to comprise a big part of the wrestling audience. And then it became Shawn Michaels was somebody that people picked on for a long time. And then the people who grew up with Shawn Michaels comprised a big part of the wrestling audience. And his legacy was looked at a lot differently in hindsight. Biggest example I can think of, John Cena.
Yeah.
Okay. People grew up with John Cena. I have never been a John Cena guy. Okay. He was not ever somebody I thought was particularly great. I respect him for what he's accomplished. I don't think he's like bad for the business or anything, but I was never into him. He was never my guy. But now I see people who are hardcore viewers of New Japan, who are super opinionated about pro wrestling, but they still love John Cena because they grew up watching him wrestle. What about the people growing up right now watching Orange Cassidy? What about the people growing up watching Will Ospreay? That's where you're going to see the legacy of AEW become something truly special. And they haven't been around long enough to cultivate it. So anyway, that's probably the shortest rant I've ever done on this show. Next match. So it wasn't the next match, but it was the next real highlight in my opinion. And I think in yours too. The TNT title match, which you saw the announced lineup. It's fucking Dante Martin. It's El Phantasmo. It's Jack Perry. It's Konosuke Takeshita. It's Leo Rush. And it's the chicken, Mark Briscoe. Don't get it twisted. He ain't scared of shit. Unbelievable match. I don't think I fully appreciated how great this match was till I went back and kind of watched it in a vacuum because there'd been so much great wrestling by this point. How was it to watch in the arena? I saw the Escalera de la Muerte between the Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks at the first All Out in Chicago live, and it scared the shit out of me. How was it for you?
It definitely scared me. There were some spots where I covered my mouth and, I was like, wow, I can't believe this just happened. And lots of holy shit moments and holy crap, I hope this person is okay. I noticed general concern for Dante Martin because of what happened in the ladder match last year. So in my section anyway, there were a lot of fans that were, just keeping their fingers crossed that he'd be okay. And with good reason. After what happened last year, it's scary to see him in these kind of matches now.
Dante seems to have attended the Bryan Danielson school.
Yes.
Of freaking people out about real injuries you've suffered in the past. Yes.
Oh, yeah. That was a thing live. The crowd did not like Jack Perry. They loved Takeshita.
Yes.
A lot. I mean, you could tell that people really wanted him to win, especially in my section. A lot of these fans, they were rooting for him. And Leo Rush was absolutely incredible. I don't understand how the hell that guy went through like 2 or 3 ladders during that match. I mean, he's a small guy. And the fact that he was able to dent multiple ladders, what the heck?
Also, that he dove through a ladder to the outside at one point.
That's true. There were just so many, what the hell did I just watch moments, and the fans loved it. That was definitely one of the most well-received matches of the night as well. They really woke up for that match after Learning Trees match, which they did not like. So
right.
The energy just came back.
It did, in a huge way.
In a huge way, yeah.
When you go to a live wrestling show, we are so conditioned on television to see, like, people do what's really incredible stuff. Like, if you really think about it, like, it's very normal for us to see this now, but like a superplex is like a really insane move, right? Like, it was Barry Windham's finisher, okay? Because it looks devastating. And when you see a superplex on TV, you're just like, you've seen a million of them, right? Even ones when they go all the way to the very tippy top. But then you see one live and you're like, holy shit. Like, a superplex is a real serious move, right?
Yeah.
Then you see Mark Briscoe set up a ladder on the apron on the outside and jump from that height, do a Jeff Hardy spot onto Jack Perry onto a table that didn't break. Good God.
That was madness. Absolute
Holy
madness.
Shit.
Yeah.
It felt like most people had the same feeling we did, that Jack Perry was ultimately going to win this match. And I think they did this the very best way that they could, which was Jack barely did shit in the entire match. And he just kind of waited for everybody else who did all the cool shit to just eliminate themselves almost.
I agree.
He did almost nothing, like high stakes. He got hit with a ladder, he got beat up, but he got splashed on a table. But Mark Briscoe almost went so far out of his way not to really hurt Jack and shelter Jack as much as he could that the table didn't even break. And Mark looked like he took a tough landing. I was really glad to see him on Dynamite because I was a little worried about him.
Me too. And, I had predicted that Jack was going to win this match. But honestly, what was so cool about this match was that there really was a moment where the crowd thought Takeshita might pull it off. They did an excellent job with that.
Tony Khan, are you fucking listening? Are you listening to us right now? Because you cannot fucking argue with that. The crowd reaction when Konosuke looked like he was going to grab those titles was massive. It was the biggest moment of the match, actually. As big as any of the stunts, as big as any of the pops. The crowd went apeshit when they thought Konosuke Takeshita was going to win. And you had to have Mark Briscoe be the one to pull him down because anyone else would have gotten booed the fuck out of that building.
Right.
The crowd loves Konosuke Takeshita. It is time. Let him go work the G1, and when he comes back, you better have a plan for this man because he is the shit. The shit. I won't hear anything else about it. Fucking push Takeshita, goddammit.
Do you want angry letters, Tony? Do you?
Do you want angry podcast, Tony? We've done one already. We'll do more. Also, it should not go unmentioned. El Phantasmo really had a great showing in this match.
Oh my gosh, yes.
He was operating in support of a lot of other people in this match. He was really trying to make other people look good a lot of the time. And man, did he do a great job. That blue thunder bomb through the tables. You cannot execute a move that perfectly without both guys knowing exactly what the fuck to do. And my God, that was the most perfect blue thunder bomb I have ever seen. Those tables exploded. And Phantasmo worked perfectly with Takeshita to make that happen. It's one of the most beautiful table spots I've ever seen.
Agreed. We love you, ELP.
We do. Beautiful destruction. Vancouver, BC boy. Saw him at Defy years ago. Just before he went to New Japan.
Oh, nice.
Love that guy. Loved his dick punch that he used to do. So good. So good. Big ELP fan over here.
Charismatic.
Right. Very charismatic guy. Very charismatic guy. Well, next.
It's time, huh? It's time.
This was
I have a lot to say.
So do I. I mean, my God. The world got to know Stephanie Vaquer in a very serious way when she wrestled Mercedes Moné. What a moment. What a match. What an incredible thing to watch a star be born right in front of our eyes. Stephanie Vaquer was amazing. But Joshi, I know this was your big moment. Talk about it.
Oh, man. Because I don't know what happened during that match. Like, I'm still trying to figure it out. So basically, Stephanie comes out. The fans are, kind of booing her. Some not very responsive. Mercedes comes out. CEO chants totally behind Mercedes Moné. They start up the match. They have a lot of chemistry. The fans are reacting to Stephanie. They're noticing that, holy crap, this chick is freaking talented. And I guess, as the match goes on, at some point, the fans remember that Mercedes Moné is a Boston girl and decided that they didn't like her and started chanting, fuck the Celtics, fuck the Red Sox, totally anti-Boston, halfway through the match. How this happened, I don't know. However, I do think just being there, I Blade Daily, Stephanie is absolutely freaking incredible. Yes. I mean, I love Mercedes Moné. I do. She is my girl. She always will be. But I got to give it to Stephanie, from just her look. And, I've told you this before, but you look at her and she has this gothic, evil, mysterious look. And just, her in that ring being able to match Mercedes in every single way. I mean, she did. And I think what might have happened was that, I can't say for sure because part of me was okay, maybe they just hate Boston. But then again, I feel like they would have started booing Mercedes from the beginning. So that was kind of odd. I think that they just really liked the way Stephanie wrestled and they were really impressed and thought, whoa, this girl is freaking amazing. And you know what? Why don't we just switch sides? Because she's that girl. Like, they decided that Stephanie was their girl that night. She just, I mean, look, to freaking get the crowd to boo Mercedes Moné and cheer for you. There were Stephanie chant, okay? In one night. That says a lot about she is everything. It's just like, I feel like if she would have not been as good as Mercedes, the fans would have probably not switched. I think it's the fact that she really is on Mercedes level. And I don't think the fans in New York expected that. And when they saw how good she was, it was like, holy shit, okay. Let's give her moment,
This was a match that demonstrated two things. Is one, what happens when you put two incredible wrestlers who are on the same level in a match with each other, right? And then two, it shows exactly why so much of the rest of the world despises New York sports fans. Because there was a guy in the crowd who was wearing a Celtics shirt. And he stood up and the crowd started chanting, "Fuck the Celtics." And that's how it started.
Oh, is that how it started? I didn't know. See?
And if you watch the pay-per-view, at one point, he's like standing up, like holding his shirt, like kind of taunting everybody and making it about him, which I hate that shit. Okay.
Yeah.
You have these incredible women doing this incredible shit. Then the crowd gets totally preoccupied with hating on Boston. Then the crowd just turns the fuck against Mercedes. Now, I think part of that was by design. Mercedes gave Stephanie so much in this match. Mm-hmm. Stephanie by far was physically dominant in the match.
She was.
Mercedes was wrestling from underneath the entire time. She viscerally reacted to the crowd a few times. She didn't pretend that they were chanting for her, like a lot of baby faces would do. She acknowledged they weren't. And when she won, she was like, I don't even care about all of you. Like, she did that whole, like, I can't believe I have this beautiful belt. I love when wrestlers make the belt feel massive. Like, when you see a baseball team win the World Series in the other team's stadium, the crowd's booing them, okay? But they're all happy as fuck, right? They're like, they don't care. They just won the World Series. Mercedes did the same thing. I loved that. I thought it was a great touch.
Well, see, that's what's so great about Mercedes. She wanted to make Stephanie. That was her intention. You could read this online. And this is why when I read shit like, oh, she's selfish and she walked out of WWE because she's a selfish, terrible person. And like she's because she has some creative control now, she's Mercedes Hogan. And oh my God, she's making so much money and doesn't deserve it. Shut up. Okay. This girl, Mercedes Moné, she has made Bianca Belair. And I'm not saying Bianca Belair wasn't over before her match with Mercedes at Mania, but she elevated her to another level. Okay. Same thing with Willow. That feud with Mercedes helped Willow. It elevated her. Massively. And as much as I love Stephanie, I was familiar with her prior to Forbidden Door. She was known in Mexico. In the United States, people are not as familiar with her. Mercedes gave her a lot and made her look freaking good. And again, Stephanie's a terrific wrestler. I'm not saying this was all on Mercedes, but Mercedes is there to help elevate that division and to create stars and to just introduce the fans to international talent that we wouldn't be as familiar with if it wasn't for Mercedes. That is why she is so important to AEW and especially to the women's division. So I don't tolerate any Mercedes slander. I'm just saying it right there.
Protect your neck. You better watch it around Joshi G with Mercedes slander. No, you're right. I think, look, Stephanie Vaquer would have gotten over with any audience, but not to the degree she did because she was wrestling Mercedes Moné. Like, you can be a great wrestler, and if you're wrestling one of the Outrunners, you can be appreciated, right? I love the Outrunners, by the way. No slander on them either. My favorite jobbers in the biz right now. But if you're wrestling one of the Outlanders and you beat them, or both of them and you beat them, Orange Cassidy, it's fine. The crowd can really appreciate how good you are. But if you wrestle Bryan Danielson or Orange Cassidy or Jon Moxley, you're going to get over more. Because when you're seen on their level, it puts you over in a bigger way. Okay. So excellent fucking match. Mercedes is now the double champ, which I think we all saw coming.
Yeah.
But what should happen at the end of this match? And it plays in perfectly to the way the crowd
So
reacted.
Good. Yes.
The DMD music hits. I knew it right away. As soon as it hit, the crowd popped massively.
Totally erupted.
And Mercedes had the heel reaction to her. It was actually great that the crowd was booing her, which made me feel like there was some intention to it. And you could tell something big was on the horizon between Britt and Mercedes. And we're going to get into that fairly shortly here.
It was such a special moment. I started jumping up and down. I missed Britt Baker, and just hearing that music again after 10 months. What a moment. So special. Really happy for her. And we have more to discuss about this for sure.
Much more.
Yes.
So that brings us to the main event.
Woo!
These guys had a hard job. You have seen Stephanie Vaquer versus Mercedes Moné. You've seen the return of Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. You have seen the TNT ladder match. You've seen the Scissor Ace. You've seen Okada doing this, the fucking DJ shit with Nick. You've seen
Hometown Boy.
Yeah. You've seen MJF. You've seen Shingo and Danielson. You've seen Mystico and the Lucha Bros versus LIJ. Finally, it was time for the main event of this very long card. Swerve and Will Ospreay finally clash head to head. And the crowd was absolutely lit the fuck up for this entire match. This was a masterclass and by far the best match of the night.
Yeah.
These two have incredible chemistry. And Joshi, we were talking about this. This had an Austin Rock kind of vibe to it where you just pick your favorite. Neither guy's the heel.
No.
Just pick your favorite. These guys were tremendous. And Swerve, I think this was the match that put Swerve in that he's the champion and he deserves to be the champion. And he is the best right now. Kind of class. Where there were so many spots in this match that blew me away. It would be stupid, honestly, to try and describe all of the match. This match was so well worked, but it had so much storytelling in it. Ospreay, you see him kind of his struggles with the Don Callis family. He's not that guy anymore, as he said on Dynamite last night. You saw that it kind of cost him in a big way to be distracted by Don. And you saw that Swerve was legitimately just the better man right now. And that Swerve was the more focused competitor. And that made all the difference. Swerve held himself like a true champion from the very beginning when the bell rings and Swerve's just like, he's just kind of grinning at Ospreay and, you know, acting like a mob boss. Like it's okay, motherfucker. It's your shoot your shot. You get your chance. What was it like to be in that crowd, Joshi?
Wow. I mean, after that Moxley Naito match, that crowd came to life. I mean, I remember when we were waiting in line to get into the UBS arena, there were a lot of Ospreay fans. So I was wondering, you know, is this going to be a very pro Ospreay crowd and not as much into Swerve? That wasn't the case at all. Like, Ospreay came out, he got a really great reaction, but my goodness, Swerve got a tremendous reaction. The fans were into him the whole night. Lots of whose house, Swerve's house chants. They absolutely loved him. And I feel like by the end of that match, the fans wanted Swerve to retain. I am so glad that that was the case because I was worried. I really was. It just seemed like there were people online that wanted us, like Ospreay to win the belt quickly, and they expected like Swerve to have a short title reign. And so I was just wondering how many people actually feel this way. Like it felt really weird to me when I would read these kind of things, but being there in person, that was not the case at all. I feel this was the match that really showed that Swerve is the guy. He deserves to be champion. He is the better man right now. And he is not a transitional champion. He is not going to have an insignificant title reign. He really was presented as the face of AEW in this match. And honestly, yes, Ospreay is one of the best wrestlers in the world, arguably the best wrestler in the world, but I thought Swerve looked just as good in that match.
You're watching 1A and 1B. I mean, straight up. Like
exactly.
The two best wrestlers in the world. It felt like in that match, we were watching them wrestle. That is so rare that you get to see something like that. That's why Danielson versus Ospreay felt so special. It's why Danielson versus Kenny Omega felt so special.
Absolutely.
You don't see the two guys that are heralded as the two best. And Swerve has been crushing it. It's been this weird phenomenon since he won the belt. People have been booking him to lose it since the minute he won it. I will say that does seem to happen a lot in AEW. As soon as the title changes hands, people are trying to predict who the next champion is going to be. But I would say this was just Swerve being legitimized. And that happens every time somebody wins the world title for the first time. They need to be legitimized. MJF needed to be legitimized too. It looked weird for a while to see him as the world champion. You're just not used to seeing him on that level. That happens with a lot of people. I remember when Bret Hart won the world title way back in 1992. Yeah. And it took a while to see him with the world title to really accept. Even I was a huge fan of his. I wanted him to be the world champion. But it still took some time to get used to seeing him as a world champion. And with Swerve, same thing. And not anymore. He looks like the world champion now.
He does.
There's a story that broke the next day that Will Ospreay asked for this match because he was tired of seeing people talk about him beating Swerve at Wembley. And he wanted to dispel that and show that anybody could lose to this champion. And that's amazing leadership from Will Ospreay. The ending was awesome. It was so awesome. You know, the ref takes a fucking hidden blade from Ospreay. Don Callis tries to give Ospreay the screwdriver. Nana has enough of Don Callis' bullshit, throws Don Callis to the ground. Ospreay pulls the screwdriver on Nana. Nana's begging begging Ospreay not to do it. Some people said it was too dramatic the way Ospreay did it. I rewatched it. It was not. I'm sorry. I've seen a lot of over dramatic wrestling in my time. This was perfect.
Yeah, it was
very, very well done. And Ospreay's like, what am I doing? I need to win this match. He gets in the ring. He fucked up. It cost him everything. And Swerve starts the end sequence, hits 2 house calls on this guy. Earlier had Swerve stomped him from the top through into a table in a vicious bump that Ospreay is a champ for taking. Ospreay's got a shoe print on his face.
Yeah.
He takes 2 house calls. He kicks out of them. He gets up. He tries, but he's out. He's out. He tries to hit the hidden blade, but there's nothing on it. He slumps into Swerve's arms, and Swerve slaps his back like, I love you, man, but I got to put you down.
Yeah, gently pats him.
Yeah, one last house call. And then a JML driver, which is now the big pressure, and it's over. And Swerve wins in about 30 minutes, whatever it was. Amazing main event.
Amazing.
I felt the same way about this that I felt about Danielson and Ospreay.
Yeah.
It was good like that was good. I don't know which match I prefer. I don't want to let recency bias color it. But good God, what a main event. What a wonderful story they told. And then the after where you saw Swerve with Ospreay telling him this wasn't personal, it was just business. What was it like being there in the arena?
It was, oh man, it was surreal. It really was. I really love Swerve, and just see him, as you said, being legitimized that way meant a lot to me. Because, as you said, there were people that wanted him to lose the belt rather quickly, and there were people that kept complaining that his title reign was insignificant and being overshadowed by the Bucks and Will Ospreay. So I'm just really glad that this match happened, and I'm glad that they decided to go with Ospreay Swerve because he was the perfect opponent to bring Swerve to that legitimate state, so to speak. And and Swerve did win on his own, and I'm really glad about that. Although Don Callis showed up, didn't really impact the match or anything, and thank goodness, because if that would have happened, then there would have been the argument that Swerve looked weak. So I just thought, what an amazing night of professional wrestling. Very special to me. And look, there were some criticisms when it came to the crowd. Like you, I don't like the crowds hijacking the show. I thought some of the chants were kind of rude, but I had a really fantastic time, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, and have a lot of memories, and I already watched some of the matches on TV. So yeah, it's just, I'm just really grateful that we get this kind of show every year. It's for people, for fans that are into different wrestling promotions, like they want to see international wrestling promotions. This pay-per-view is for you, and I'm glad that it's catered to people like us, fans like us.
Well, and not to be I think what this show does, Forbidden Door does in America, or in North America at least, is it shows the magic of pro wrestling worldwide, right? You have Stardom, you have CMLL, you have New Japan, and AEW, all in alignment to put on this incredible collaboration that delivered massive. And it shows you the beauty of pro wrestling. There are a lot of people who thought there wasn't enough genuine New Japan talent, or genuine this or genuine that. When the show actually happened, didn't feel that way to me at all.
Oh, I agree.
And not to be forgotten about was the announcement January 5th, the night after Wrestle Kingdom, one of the biggest events in pro wrestling. January 4th, the next night they're running the Tokyo Dome again, and they are doing their own Forbidden Doors type show, Wrestling Dynasty, with AEW, with CMLL, with Stardom, and New Japan. Unbelievable. I love seeing this collaboration deepen. I love seeing this get even better. I love seeing New Japan have their moment where they're the facilitators of the big event. Instead of just having a few AEW people show up at Wrestle Kingdom, you have a real, true, genuine cross-brand collaboration.
It's going to be so amazing. Oh, yeah. I'm so excited.
I can't wait till CMLL gets the same thing.
Me
you know
too.
what I mean?
Arena Mexico, baby.
I want to see it in Arena Mexico, too. I'm going to probably kill myself, my old ass, watching Wrestle Dynasty live, but I'm going to watch it. It's going to be awesome. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Good God. I thought we'd be brief. We were not, but
I know.
How can you be? How can you be?
Oh, I agree.
I mean, look, you give us this much great wrestling, we got to talk about it. It's
exactly
just the way it is.
Exactly.
I think you guys can tell how touched Joshi and I both are by incredible pro wrestling, how passionate and enlivened we are by great pro wrestling. To the homies that we got out there on Threads and elsewhere, you guys, the passion you have for pro wrestling is so infectious. We love it. If you want to share your thoughts with us, send us an email to sitdownshutupmarkout@gmail.com. You can also message us, Threads, Instagram, Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out, iBlade Daily, Gina 6000. You can reach us at any of those places. So then, after me just being like a total psycho for 3 days, waiting for Dynamite to roll around, it finally rolled around last night. And I got to say, this was a fucking crazy good show. My God. One of the best Dynamites of the year. One of my favorite ever, really. And maybe the strongest Dynamite coming out of a pay-per-view that I can ever remember. We won't get into the very lead off of the show because it plays such an important part into the end of the show. But there was that story going throughout this whole show. Everybody knows what we're talking about, but we'll describe it in depth. It's the thing we'll talk about the most when we get to that point. The very first match, Danielson, after the brutal ass match with Shingo Takagi, has to face fucking the psychopath Pac. What a fucking match. The crowd was going ape shit before the match even starts. There was a holy shit chant. Mm-hmm. Chicago showed the fuck up for this show. They were turned up. You know, a lot of people, I remember when CM Punk got his fucking dumbass fired, there was a lot of people who said AEW had burned Chicago and that it wasn't their town anymore. Wrong. Chicago was into this. So, holy shit chance start before they even touch. Awesome back and forth match. Pac really getting the better of Danielson. Danielson's acting in his matches lately is
top notch.
Top notch. He's playing that wily veteran that's barely hanging with these young guys. And he's just like, does he have it in him? Does this old man who's coming to the end of the road just got one more win in him? And by God, he did. He did win this match, but by the skin of his teeth. There was an awesome moment where Danielson goes for a cover, kind of with his back on Pac.
Yeah.
And he hooks the leg with his arm. And Pac, one of our friends on Threads, I can't remember exactly who, said that the counter into the brutalizer was so effortless that it made them laugh. And I have to agree, because Pac just barely had to move to put him in it.
Yeah.
And they do, a series of volleys through all these turns. Lots of technical wrestling in this match too. Pac is so fluid. He is such a fucking world-class athlete. I still want to see this guy get a big push at some point.
Me too.
I'm still not giving up on Pac having a world title run at some point down the road. He's great on the mic too.
He's good at everything.
There's no reason he couldn't. I still think Pac could either be international champion again or be the world champion at some point. I'm not giving up.
And he has the coolest accent ever.
He does.
He sounds like a Game of Thrones character.
And he's got the greatest name in the business. He is the bastard.
Yeah.
Pac. Oh, I'm such a huge Pac fan.
Me too.
Danielson wins. Excellent fucking match. What any thoughts you want to share on that one, Joshi?
What a classic. Oh man, I was so invested in that match. It passed by really quickly. The crowd obviously loved it. They wouldn't stop chanting, and man, you could just tell, like they had so much energy. And with good reason, two of the best wrestlers in the world, a match that we really wanted to see in AEW. And Pac needs to get a big push at some point. And he deserves it. Every time I see this guy wrestle, I'm completely enamored by him. So, and also his physique, it's so interesting because he's not the tallest guy, but he's built like a beast.
Every part of Pac is a muscle. Okay.
Yeah.
His eyeballs, they're muscles. His kneecaps are made of muscle. His beard is made of muscles. Like everything about this man is a muscle. Like he has one of the greatest physiques in the business, period.
He does.
And actually, I think it's really helped him to shed just a little bit of the muscle mass that he had before. I think that's going to help him from getting injured.
I was thinking the same thing, actually.
They go to a backstage segment where Toni Storm and Mariah May is pressed into Tony's bosom, looking like a little doe-eyed angel. It was a little hard to say exactly what Toni was saying for a minute. And then you could finally hear that she was saying, great callback. Tony goes, Hikaru Shida is the last person I would want to face. Because Tony has talked at length about how Hikaru Shida is the one who ruined her life and drove her crazy, drove her to madness because she couldn't beat her. And she goes, so even if you lose to her, darling, I'll still love you. And then she tells Mariah, you digest thunder and you defecate lightning.
That was so funny. What a weird thing to say. Tony, man, I don't know where she gets these things.
She's the greatest. She's the greatest. She's
goat. So silly. She's so freaking silly.
She is my wrestler of the year this year. I'm serious. Her and Swerve, 1 and 2, and I'm not sure which one goes where, but they are my wrestlers of the year this year. Toni Storm, absolutely the shit in every single way. Digest thunder and defecate lightning. Unfucking believable quote. The greatest soundbite talker in the business, no doubt about it. Holy shit. You never forget something that happens when she is on the screen. They then cut to Willow talking about her match with Chris Statlander. Willow gives a fucking incredible nihilist Dusty Rhodes promo. Nothing matters. Good. Smile anyway. Apparently, I saw somebody talking about her taking acting classes. Her and Dante both took some acting classes together. And man, you see it in both of them. They are incredible. Willow cuts a badass fucking promo. It feels like she is just on a fucking... Her and Toni Storm will be the biggest baby faces in AEW, period. And Mariah May and Mercedes will be the biggest heels. It's written in the stars. Like, you just see it happening right in front of you, you know? It remains to be seen where Statlander's going to fall in all of this, but she's upped her game so much too. But man, Willow, she's on another level. She is. Man, as a character, she is just exploding. Come back. Mark Briscoe announces that he is Team AEW in the Blood and Guts match. Absolutely awesome. Awesome addition to the team. The Elite come out and start beating his ass. He says, now people call me chicken, but don't get it twisted. I ain't scared of shit. And
what a nut.
He's like, I don't know what happened. Jack Perry ate his Wheaties and managed to win the TNT Championship. Shoved a horseshoe up his ass.
Was it Lucky Charms or something?
His Lucky Charms. That's what it was. That's what it was. Very good. And then Jack Perry attacks him. Okada, the Bucks come out. They attack. The Acclaim makes the save. I think they're kind of showing you where we're going here. Mm-hmm. The Acclaimed are probably going to be on Team AEW with Briscoe. I believe Swerve will be a part of Team AEW. I'm not sure who will be the other person on Team AEW. If it was humanly possible, it could be Kenny Omega. Because I think when Kenny comes back, his match is with Okada. I think that's going to be the match.
Yeah.
And Kenny will probably... However far out this may be, I think Kenny Omega will be the first person to pin Kazuchika Okada in AEW. But you have just a wide open... I still think Hangman is going to end up being on Team Elite.
Well, once he finds out that Swerve is part of Team AEW, he'll join. Exactly. Only then, because he hates Swerve. And as for Kenny... as much as I really would love for him to be a part of that match, given everything that his body's been through, I don't know if this is even if it were, I don't know if this is the ideal match to come back to. It's very risky. You know,
Very
I would
risky.
love it. I love Kenny. You know, he's my GOAT, but I just wouldn't want him. I just wouldn't want something to happen to him. You know.
I cannot wait to see him fucking destroy Jack Perry.
Oh, me too.
I cannot wait to see Kenny fucking crush the Young Bucks. I cannot wait. I mean, they built this up so perfectly. Whenever he comes back, that's going to be incredible. So then we get Chris Statlander versus Willow in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. Semifinal. Really good match. Loved the beginning of this match. They fight at the top of the ramp. What I love is that Stat is a bastard and she turned on her friend, but she's not afraid of her. She didn't like chicken shit heel run around. She went straight at Willow. She's like, fuck you. I want to beat you up. It just makes it feel appropriate for people who are friends. Like they know each other's weaknesses. They're not afraid of each other. They're going to beat each other's ass. And beat each other's ass they did. They beat the shit out of each other. These two. They kicked each other's ass pretty good. And Willow pulls it out. Very shocking win to me.
I was surprised.
I really thought Statlander would pull this one out.
Me too. I think Chris is going to cost her that match, though. And this rivalry is going to continue because Chris has to get the upper hand at some point. I mean,
Willow's opponent, whoever that may be, might pull some heel shit to win. I think it could go either way. Or both, actually. Could be Chris and some heel shit.
Because I don't see this being the end of the Willow-Chris rivalry. That's for
Absolutely not. No way. No. This is just the start of that rivalry. It was kind of a fluky win, too. It wasn't like Willow just like destroyed Statlander, just beat her. You know, it really was Stokely kind of cost Statlander the match.
That darn
Tried to give her the chain, and it was too obvious. She couldn't use the chain. Willow ducks, rolls her up, and as she's giving the chain back to Stokely, she can't kick out. You know, it really was just she got hoisted by her own petard. You know,
time to body slam his ass.
Yeah. Oh my God, Stokely is going to take a big bump from both these women at some point. But I think their big match is going to come at All In. I think
that's what I think too.
That's what they're going to be building to. I do not think under any circumstances that Willow is winning this tournament. We go to another commercial. We come back. It's Tony Schiavone's in the ring. Tony, after losing his voice last week, is back. And it makes perfect sense because he's introducing his good friend, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. This crowd goes absolutely apeshit for the good doctor. She comes down to the ring. Britt is in the best shape I've ever seen her in.
Those abs. Yeah.
She's got like crazy six pack. She comes to the ring kind of out of character. This isn't the normal DMD that we're used to seeing, all attitude Britt Baker. Okay. This is a different Britt. She said she was injured. That every time everybody's asked about her for 10 months, they've been told she's injured, which was true. She had a couple herniated discs and a torn labrum in her hip. But she said, you know me, that would not keep me out of action. And we do. That would not keep her out of action. This is a woman who wrestled for a year with a broken wrist that couldn't heal because she kept wrestling and running a dental clinic. God's sake. And then Britt tells the world that she had an ischemic event that is where she couldn't use the right side of her body. That is commonly referred to as a mini stroke or as a stroke precursor. Britt is a very young woman to be having an issue like that. She talked about how she always looked at herself and said, you're good. And this was the first time she ever looked in the mirror and said, Britt, you're not good. She stayed in the hospital for a week, but she was discharged. She made sure to highlight how understanding Tony Khan was when she needed that time off. And I think this kind of shows that as good as some people in the wrestling space are at reporting news, all of them were particularly wrong about Britt. All I heard was that she was injured and that she wasn't cleared, that she wanted to be on the show blah, 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 that she could get over without being cleared. Nobody reported that she had any kind of mini stroke type event. Tony Khan has been criticized a lot for not being transparent enough with the media. I will tell you that if I worked for Tony Khan and I had to be off TV and he wasn't around spreading my business and let me tell my fans when I was ready what was going on with me, I would really appreciate that. Props to Tony Khan. This man has done a great job. He takes all the heat from people who say he's not transparent enough. But when the time comes, he lets them share their news when they're ready. And this was a very classy move. And then Britt gets to the real good stuff. She calls out Mercedes Moné. Joshi, why don't you take it from here?
Sure. So basically, Britt Baker says that while she's been away, there's been a new top face of the women's division, and that she's manipulated the fans into chanting CEO by adding that chant to her music. And she's starting to go on about Mercedes and saying that she didn't, she didn't bleed and sweat in the, the AEW ring, and she wasn't the first woman signed. And what else did she say? And she basically said that the fans only need to know 3 words, and those are DMD. And then we see the Young Bucks. Actually, first we see a SUV arrive, and Mercedes comes out of the car, the SUV, and she's going to the arena, and so she runs into the Bucks, and they're praising her and saying that finally we have a CEO that we can respect and whatnot. And they basically tell production and everyone involved, let's get her celebration started right away at this moment while Britt Baker is still in the ring. And so you have staff that come out. They're I was laughing so hard at this.
I know.
They're putting the balloons in the ring.
I know.
They're
Britt's just standing there
just all around Baker. She's just standing there what?
I'm doing a segment. I loved when they came out with the trash bags full of balloons.
With the trash bags.
to have on the ground in
They're
the
just
ring.
dumping them in the ring. Yeah. And Britt's there what? And then you have those blown up photos of Mercedes in the ring and whatnot. And then Mercedes comes out. There are CEO chants, okay? This wasn't all her music, but as soon as the music stopped, they decided to chant DMD. And Mercedes says, "Oops, did I interrupt something?" Which made me laugh after what happened at Forbidden Door. And Baker's basically saying, well, okay, I get it because I outshine your moment. You're doing this to me now. And Monet basically said, you're irrelevant to me. I don't care what you do. They're going back and forth.
The crowd is getting progressively louder throughout this entire segment. It feels massive.
Yeah.
Huge.
It feels really huge. Baker is so freaking over.
Oh my God.
Definitely such a huge baby face. And what made me laugh so hard was when Baker said that, well, she's going on about how she was at the very first All In. So the one that took place in Chicago pre-AEW, she was the first woman signed to AEW, and she wrestled at All In at Wembley Stadium last year, while Mercedes, she was up in the rafters with her freaking broke. What did she say? She said when you're
She said you were up in the stands like a broken bitch with
a broken bitch with a broken leg.
Yeah,
and Mercedes,
right.
And Mercedes responds, "I'm rich." Which
she
totally
said, "Bitch, I stay rich."
Bitch, I stay rich. Yeah, which also made me laugh. And then Baker said that she wanted to face Mercedes at All In, and Mercedes said that there's a long line of women waiting to face her, so that she'll have to wait. She'll have to wait at the back of the line, bitch. And Baker responds, "Bitch, what line?" So they're going back and forth.
Which is apparently a callback to a promo Mercedes had done with Nia Jax.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know that at the time.
Neither did I.
A throwback to a WWE quote. I wasn't watching anymore by then. But
exactly.
But
Me
yes,
too.
so it was a throwback, and Mercedes goes, "Well, you're clearly a fan."
Yes, because you know what I'm going to say next. Mm-hmm. And then she said, "There's a price to pay when you mess with Mercedes Moné." Absolutely epic. Okay, this might have been the best woman segment in AEW ever.
Yeah.
My goodness, everybody was into it. It was perfect.
It's either this or the contract signing. It's either this or the contract signing with Willow and Mercedes.
Yeah. Absolutely mind-blowing. And I love that this all started with Baker and her motivational speech. You know, and basically saying, you're going through like rough stuff, deal with that shit. And like, just, you know, being genuine and then, you know, just being herself. This wasn't Britt Baker, the character. This was the person here. And to go from that to her and Mercedes just, you know, assaulting each other and being feisty and just getting that crowd completely sold on this match that will definitely happen at All In. I applaud everybody involved with this. Tony Khan, Jennifer Pepperman, whoever, and of course both ladies. Mercedes was completely comfortable playing the heel here. She embraced it. She doesn't care that you guys are booing her. You know, she really doesn't give a crap.
Oh, this was designed for her to be the heel.
This was designed for her to be the heel.
Yeah, no, they knew Britt was going to get a huge babyface reaction.
And especially when you heard about, you know, her mini stroke, there's no way they were going to boo Britt Baker.
No.
So, man, I cannot wait. I already love this freaking feud. It's like my favorite and it just started. So, man, props to everybody. They just made this such a huge deal. It feels like a big money match. And it's just, you know, amazing that they got 14 minutes. That whole segment was 14 minutes long.
Wow.
And yeah, I had rewatched it on YouTube because I was obsessed with it. So they got a lot of time. And, you know, Britt Baker, DMD, she is the master of freaking talking when it comes to that woman's division. Not just that woman's division, any freaking woman's division. Britt Baker, when you give her the mic, she is on the same level as MJF, John Moxley, all of those people. I don't give a crap.
She's incredible. She's incredible.
She's up there. So
no, I was freaking out watching this. Like it just, I had goosebumps. My blood was pumping. You know, it was just an incredible segment. It felt like a dream match, like a dream feud, like, you know, like you're seeing something you never thought you would see. And this is the biggest thing they could do with Mercedes in AEW right now is match her up with Britt Baker. I think of all the matches that we could still see for the first time with her, and there's so many, you know, her versus Statlander, her versus Jamie Hayter, her versus Sheeta, her versus Mariah May. You know, I mean, there's still so much more to come with Mercedes, but man, good God, this feels like one of the very biggest matches for Wembley, period. The next segment, another really, really well-acted segment. Will Ospreay is clearly a man who has had his hopes dashed. He is clearly feeling a bit down. And he has this very quiet discussion with Don Callis and Kyle Fletcher nearby. And he very gentlemanly thanks Don for all the opportunities. He says, you know, I got Kenny Omega twice, and then you helped me get Chris Jericho at Wembley. And I know it's my fault that I lost the match last night. I'm the one who hit the referee. I know you thought I should have done the Tiger Driver, but I don't think I'm that guy anymore. And I don't want to be a part of this anymore. And I need to be done with this. I need to be out. And Don Callis very uncharacteristically, says, Will, I'm not in the habit of letting people under contractual obligation out of that obligation. But, I'm so proud of what you've done with your life. I'm so proud of who you are. I'll do you the favor. And Will thanks him. And Don hugs him and says, you're going to be the world champion. And then the camera makes sure to look at Don's face. And that is not a man who is done with Will Ospreay. That is not a man who is done with Will Ospreay. And Kyle Fletcher, for his credit, can only act with his face this entire time. And he portrays that angst of, Daddy Don and Brother Will, being like in some kind of conflict about what to do, right? And then Don goes, come on, Kyle. And Will goes, kind of nods at him, go ahead, go with him, And Will Ospreay's out of the Don Callis family. I think they also did a really good job of showing you that really Don kind of favored Will over everybody else.
Yeah.
Throughout this entire thing. So he put all his eggs in that basket. Now Trent Beretta is going to be the one like, Don, I told you. There's a lot more to come. And don't forget, Roosh has been flirting with the Callis family.
Yeah, that's true.
Ospreay could have his hands full in a lot of different ways. And who just feuded with Roosh?
Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
Mm-hmm. Kind of interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Almost seems like they had a plan and they're telling a good story.
Story? What story? There's no stories in AEW.
Doesn't tell stories. What the fuck? Samoa Hook Bata faced the Cage of Agony. Chris Jericho, we're going to try and be quick about this one. Chris Jericho came out to do commentary, but has to have Taz removed before he can. This was a major heel move. This is the first time I've legitimately been angry at Jericho during the learning tree thing, because the everybody knows who knows me. The Dynamite commentary team is the GOAT commentary team in the business. There's no one better in the history of wrestling than the Dynamite commentary team. And getting Taz removed is just an absolute no-go for me.
What a jerk move.
And Jericho also knows that people hate him on commentary and that they're going to be pissed that he's on commentary. But he managed to somehow be extremely amusing, telling Tony Schiavone that he was from the 50s, that he's been doing this since the 50s. It ends with Samoa Hook Bata choking out all three members of the Cage of Agony. My only complaint, I love the Cage of Agony. I love all three guys. They deserve better than this. They could have picked somebody else to. This is what you do to the premier athletes, not to the Cage of Agony. Okay,
I agree.
What do these guys have to do to get through? Come on,
they lose too much.
It's my only complaint really about this entire episode. The learning tree then proceeds to beat the shit out of Samoa Hook Bata, which I enjoyed. Big Bill beats the fuck out of Samoa Joe with a steel chair. The learning and then choke slams Hook through a table after Chris Jericho had punched him in the head with brass knuckles. Like, holy shit, those looked really serious, those brass knuckles. I hope Jericho pulled that punch okay. I guess because Hook's still alive, we know he took the spot okay. My favorite part of this entire bit was after they chokeslam Hook through the table, Big Bill gives a thumbs up with a big smile on his face like he was doing something positive for humanity.
Oh, Bill.
Big Bill continues to be incredibly amusing. Later on, Hook attacks the learning tree and Chris Jericho throws a fireball into Hook's face.
The fireball I don't like.
Why is that?
I just find it
like too much.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid.
I thought it was fine. I gotta say, Jericho got me with the hi guys or thanks guys, like a couple times on the commentary when they're like, and we're we'll be back with Dynamite, and Jericho sneaks in a quick hi guys.
Yeah, that made me laugh.
Oh my God. This guy.
What a dork.
I'm a fucking branch, Joshi. I don't want to be, but I am.
He's just,
He is very entertaining.
I know he is.
Fuck him. Why? Why am I a branch? I don't want to be a branch. Fuck
You want to be a
Jericho.
leaf.
I want to be a fucking forest fire. I want to burn this shit to the ground, but instead I'm a branch.
I want to be a forest.
Yeah. I don't want a tree. I want to be all the trees that eat the learning tree.
Me too.
But instead I'm a goddamn branch. Fuck. Then we get Jeff Jarrett versus a wild card. Now,
Woohoo!
I had watched a lot of people talk themselves into believing that it was somebody besides Hangman.
Come on.
It was Hangman.
Of course it was Hangman.
I think because they showed that vignette on Collision this last week that people thought that they had tipped their hands about Hangman, so it had to be somebody else. Guys, there's only one person it was going to be. And it was a new, meaner, angrier, psychotic, new music, new look, shorter hair, not dyed, blonde. Hangman Adam Page. New tights.
New tights.
And he cheap shot at Jeff Jarrett. He punished Jeff Jarrett. He murdered an old man basically on television. They did make Jeff look good in this match. Jeff fought back. Hangman sold for him. Hangman took every cheap shot he possibly could. And he basically murdered him on live television.
You know, Jeff Jarrett, for his age, he does wrestle well. I got to give it to Jarrett. You know, like, I don't know. He's gotten a lot of hate. Yeah. He's gotten a lot of hate. And you know what? Like back in the day, I wasn't the biggest fan of Jeff Jarrett, but he's actually been entertaining in AEW and I've enjoyed his matches. He hasn't disappointed me at all. And as for Hangman Adam Page, he is legitimately scary now.
He is terrifying.
I mean, yes.
He is terrifying. And, you know, Hangman Page is a big dude. Like,
yeah.
He has all of the tools to be like a Bruiser Brody, like fucking killer, you know?
Right.
Like,
right.
And it's cool to see him have this run where he's kind of in Moxley mode, where he's just like, John Moxley's like the Wolverine of AEW, right? Where he's just like, by any means necessary, you know? And Hangman, it's nice to see a little bit of that in him too.
I agree. I just feel like if I approached him and just said something like hello, he'd probably kill me. That's how I feel watching him now. That expression, you know, that look on his face throughout the whole match freaked me out. I was like, oh my God, this guy is psychotic and I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what he's capable of doing now, but I'm into it. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. He terrified me.
Yeah.
So, you know, and somebody had said online on Threads that this was the moment that all these Jarrett haters had been waiting for. But Jeff being Jeff and Tony being Tony, they made you love Jeff before
of course
he gets destroyed. They cut to a backstage promo with the Young Bucks and Hanger. And the Bucks are like, hey, Hanger, good times, bro. Good to have you back. We lifted your suspension. And Hangman basically makes it known right away, practically bitch slaps both the Jackson brothers and says, I'm not a child and I'm not your puppet and I'm not your guy. And I think you nailed it. I think Swerve, when he's announced as a member of Team AEW, he'll probably be the last guy announced.
Yeah.
I think that's when Hangman will join the Elite.
I was really glad that that Hangman didn't reunite with the Bucks right away because they suspended him for no reason really.
Right.
It's like, why would, like, if he would have come back and been like, oh, okay, yeah, guys, like, we're buddies now and I'm part of the Elite and I'm going to be Team Elite at Blood and Guts, it wouldn't have made much sense. It would have made Hangman look like a lackey, like a soft person. In this case, he's making it really well known. Don't mess with me. I'm my own guy. And you're not taking me for granted anymore. So
Yeah, why would he be happy with them? Right.
Yeah, of course he should be pissed. I mean, these guys were complete assholes to him.
One, he's not just pissed at them, he's pissed at the world.
He's pissed at everybody.
Fucking Swerve fucking threatened his child and broke into his house. And now everybody's cheering for him.
Yeah.
And they all turned on Hangman.
Yeah, lots of anger that, built up, and he's making it really well known that he's not soft at all anymore. He's all man. He's a fucking hard ass, basically.
Yeah, he's a hard ass. So, he's terrifying. He's terrifying. Well,
are we ready for this? Oh boy.
Brings us to, this could have been a real business-like main event. Maybe with a storyline development here. By no means did I think it would end the way it ended, or that it would be as cataclysmic as it was. The show had opened with Daddy Magic and Daniel Garcia talking about his match with Will Ospreay, and that it was absolutely his time, that he was ready to take the international title from Will Ospreay, that he had nothing but respect for Ospreay, when suddenly he's interrupted by MJF. And I don't know about you, Joshi, but you could not miss the giant Dynamite diamond ring on the end of this guy's finger. It was very prominently displayed in every shot of him. And MJF says, Danny, I want to be in your corner tonight. And Garcia says, I'll see you out there. Daddy Magic says, I thought you were full of it for a long time, but with as good as you've been to Danny recently, I'm okay with you. That's the end of it, right? It's the end of it. Till the end of the show.
Oh, boy.
They have this match. It's very good.
Yeah.
Garcia and Ospreay. Garcia's looking great against Ospreay, who's banged up and beat up from his match with Swerve. And it looks like Garcia's got Ospreay right where he wants him. And MJF goes, Danny, use the ring. And again, every time MJF's been on camera, that ring is in the shot.
Yeah.
Every time on this one episode. He doesn't wear it all the time.
No.
And Danny is very conflicted, spends way too much time debating whether to take the ring. Then he does take the ring. And then he decides he can't take the ring and he gives it back. And then Will Ospreay hits him with a massive hidden blade that knocks him the fuck out and he immediately gets pinned. He fucked up. He did. By wasting all this time, right?
Yeah. He should have just ignored MJF, period. Or just said, you know what? No.
And if MJF hadn't been there, he probably would have won the title, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, he could have done it on his own is the point, right?
Exactly.
And they did this really well because when he gives the ring back to MJF goes, okay, you're right. Do it your way. Do it your way. And then he gets creamed. MJF never says, look behind you. I mean, he just lets him get creamed. Danny's crying in the corner.
Yeah, that was so sad.
Upset. Great acting by Garcia.
Such great. I just wanted to give him a hug and tell him.
It was so good. I felt legitimately teary almost.
Me too. I was like, you're going to win a championship soon. I promise.
And Ospreay comes over to him and Ospreay's like, you're going to have this belt someday. You're gonna have this belt someday.
Comforting him. Yeah.
He's comforting him and he's saying you're amazing. I think he kissed his head at one point.
Yeah.
And he said you're going to be, you have a lot more title shots coming your way. You're like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So Ospreay leaves the ring and MJF comes in the ring and this just feels a little off all of a sudden. It
does, yeah.
It feels a little off. And MJF comes in and he's like, Danny, I'm sorry. That's on me. It's not on you. You had him. I fucked this up, blah, blah, blah. And MJF lifts his hands and the crowd cheers. And MJF turns Danny to face him and he puts both hands on his shoulders. And there is this very particular thing MJF does. Right before he kicks somebody in the balls, He puts both his hands on their shoulders. And as soon as he did that, I had this flash of like, oh my God. And then he kicks Danny right in the balls. And Danny goes down. They do a 14-minute overrun because MJF proceeds to annihilate Daniel Garcia. It is a vicious beating that he lays down on Daniel Garcia. Like, gross beating.
Really disgusting. Yeah.
Pounds him over and over again with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. Hits Daddy Magic, knocks him out. Daddy Magic's gushing blood. Daniel Garcia's gushing blood. Both these guys are fucked up. And MJF, the crowd is confused. Some people are booing him. Some people are just going, he's our scumbag. He's trying to shut that shit down. He tells them to shut the fuck up. He tries, he's doing everything he can to turn these guys against him. I still think it's going to take some time. There's going to be people chanting he's our scumbag. He's going to have to be pretty scummy to get everybody to turn on him. This is MJF to me. The announcers immediately turn on him.
Of
Tony
course,
Schiavone goes,
Schiavone.
He never changed. He was always this way. This was visceral. And
it was, yeah.
Ugly. And the show ends with MJF. I mean, he's picking fights with fans. Him and one fan were like face to face at one point. Security's pushing him back. Will Ospreay, probably went to go take a shower. Finally figures out what's going on. The lactic acid's building up in his body. He's limping down to the ring to kind of come to Danny's aid. Danny's being put on a backboard and stretchered out of there. And the show goes off the air. Wow.
What a show. It was my favorite Dynamite this year.
Wow.
I loved everything about it. And when MJF was telling Danny, it was on me, it's not your fault, and he holds his arm up and they're taking their time with it, I'm like, MJF's going to kick him in the ball. I just felt that. I said, when they take their time with this, it's leading to something.
Usually is.
I didn't expect them to destroy Daniel Garcia like that. Like, my goodness, that poor guy was just in the corner crying because he lost a championship opportunity. And now you're, pretending to be his friend. Well, you've been pretending this whole time and you just humiliate him like that. Like, it made me so angry at MJF, which is what was kind of missing, I feel, for a while. I feel like when it comes to being the top heel in AEW, MJF does it like no other. And we weren't really like, there were pretty good heels, but not to the extent that MJF would go, where he, as you said, he's in the fans' faces. He can be extremely obnoxious, extremely rude. He's visceral. So I think this was needed. And this is a good way to establish who the babyface and the heel will be at All In, assuming we get Ospreay MJF. And I think that's important. You don't always want two baby faces. Like, it was fine when it came, to Swerve and Ospreay at Forbidden Door. But I think in this case, you had to make either Ospreay or MJF a heel, and making MJF a heel makes more sense because he is just so freaking good at it. And they really do want to continue to make Ospreay the big baby face in that promotion. Well, one of the top baby faces. And I think that turning MJF heel and having him essentially kill Daniel Garcia will elevate Daniel Garcia a lot.
Absolutely. I think this was a star-making moment for Danny Garcia.
Yeah.
Courtesy of MJF and Will Ospreay. I just wanted to point out the masterful storytelling that has happened over the last 6 weeks with all these people. They start this feud between Ospreay and Swerve, and over the course of 3 weeks, they kind of make you root against Ospreay, where he's acting a little bit heelish. But they also tease that there's something going on with MJF, who's still a babyface, but is oddly not a big part of the AEW broadcasts.
Right.
Like, this isn't MJF. This feels weird, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
They get to this weird moral ambiguity with Will Ospreay, where it's like, is he a babyface, or were we kind of like not seeing something here? At the end of the match with Swerve, you see that Ospreay really does have a good heart, and he really did mean well, right? And then the next night, they show you who the real heel in this feud is going to be. It's MJF. And he's fucking pissed at having to share the spotlight with anyone, much less Will Ospreay.
Of course.
And so that's where they're going for All In. I don't think it's a triple threat. I think
it's a singles match.
It's a singles match, and it's Ospreay and MJF. And it's going to be a huge match. Huge match. And then you have either Danielson versus Swerve or Hangman versus Swerve. Probably Hangman versus Swerve. I just don't know which direction you go with that, if that's the direction you're going. But that's great, right? Like, who wants to know everything, right? You have the Acclaimed and the Bucks. You have Britt and Mercedes. You have Tony and Mariah on the horizon. I mean, this is looking pretty goddamn good.
There's a lot going on, and I'm sure that when MJF justifies his actions on Saturday on Collision, he will mention that he felt disrespected by Daniel Garcia too.
Oh, yeah.
Because he had offered him a match at All In, and when Ospreay came out, he completely ignored MJF and focused on Will Ospreay, and it just puts things into perspective, because when we were discussing that segment last week, that look on MJF's face, he looked so angry, so
he was
disrespected.
seething.
He was seething. And it was one of those things where, okay, something's going to come out of this. And oh boy, did it come out last night. But I did not expect it to.
I thought he was going to cost Ospreay the match. Honestly,
Yeah,
I
me
thought
too.
he was going to fuck over Ospreay or try to fuck over Ospreay and accidentally cost Danny, which I guess you could say he almost kind of did. But like, I thought he'd try to hit Ospreay with the ring and hit Danny instead, and Ospreay would win. But the way they did it was so much better than that.
It was, and it was surprising. It was very shocking.
In conclusion, I just want to say there are so many stupid people on the internet
Yep.
who say so many stupid things about pro wrestling. And some of it, it's not just about AEW, okay? But the people who say AEW isn't telling stories are absolutely insane. They're wrong. Just ignore them. They don't know what they're talking about. Because we are seeing some of the best layered storytelling ever right now. Right now. And you have an AEW with the three top baby faces being Swerve, Ospreay, and like Kenny Omega. And your three top heels being MJF, Hangman, Jay White.
Technically, Jay is still a heel, but I wonder if that's going to change soon. Again, though, I do like him as a heel, though. So I don't know. We'll see.
Folks, I recently read Giant Sized X-Men, and Joshi, this has been a giant-sized episode of Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out. There's no way it's not going to be extra long, but you know what? There's a lot to talk about. And it's because we have been spoiled with a lot of incredible pro wrestling. We are going to talk about other stuff next episode. We are going to talk about some historical wrestling stuff. I want to get back into that. We have so much good stuff coming up. But thank you all. We want to make this community as big as it can be. Leave us a review if you're so motivated on the iTunes store, on Spotify, wherever you can review podcasts. It helps people find us, helps make this community bigger. We ain't doing this for the money. We're doing it for the love of the game. And what a game it is. Joshi G, thank you so much, friendo, as always.
Anytime.
All right, everybody. I'm Blade Daly.
I'm Joshi G. Peace out.
And this has been Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out, Pro Wrestling Forever.
Later.